The thousands of distinct whiskeys on the market today, each with a unique flavor profile, all originate from the same basic ingredients, grain and water. The process begins with malting, where grains are soaked to emulate their natural growing cycle. This awakens the enzymes required to later break down internal starch into sugar. Because the grain would eventually consume its own energy, the distiller must halt this process. They introduce heat at the optimum moment to preserve the starch and enzyme content. This drying phase provides an opportunity to introduce flavor. By burning peat in the kiln, the distiller forces aromatic compounds into the grain, creating the distinct smoky profile found in many Scotch whiskies. Before the grain ever touches liquid again, the distiller has already established the foundational chemical potential and flavor of the spirit. To access those internal starches, they are sent through a mill, ground into a coarse flour, exposing the interior of the seed. During mashing, this grist is flooded with water at specific temperature thresholds, which the distillers diligently control to maximize their yield. Inside the mash tun, the enzymes stimulated during malting go to work. They begin cleaving the long starch chains, dissolving them into fermentation sugars. Once the water is saturated with sugar, it is cooled and collected. This liquid, known as wort, contains the fuel necessary for the creation of alcohol. Mashing acts as a targeted extraction mission, turning solid grain into a sugary liquid. To transform this sugary wort into alcohol, distillers introduce yeast, a living catalyst for the next phase. Over 2 to 10 days, the yeast consumes the sugars in the wort. This biological reaction generates alcohol alongside heat and carbon dioxide. The result is a low-alcohol beer called the wash, reaching around 10% alcohol by volume. Without this microscopic intervention, the liquid would remain a simple, non-alcoholic syrup. This wash is then transferred into massive copper stills to concentrate the alcohol and refine the flavor. Because ethanol boils at a lower temperature, it separates as a vapor rising through the neck. The still's dimensions act as a filter. Taller stills create delicate spirits, while shorter stills pass heavier flavors. Unlike batch pot stills, column stills run continuously. These 4-story towers function like refineries, stripping impurities to produce a lighter, higher-proof spirit. The clear, unaged liquid exiting the condenser is new make spirit, purified by its contact with copper, which removes unwanted sulfur compounds. Distillation provides the ultimate purification, turning a rough beer into a concentrated spirit ready for maturation. To become whiskey, this new make spirit must spend years or decades inside wooden casks, resting in dark warehouses. The cask is an active chemical partner. As the liquid sits inside, it draws out natural color and aromatic complexity directly from the wood. The wood's history also shapes the profile. Casks that previously held bourbon, sherry, or port infuse the resting spirit with specific characteristics from their previous contents. There is a constant physical loss during this period. Roughly 2% of the liquid evaporates out through the wood each year, a portion known as the angel's share. This interaction with time and wood is responsible for the majority of the final spirit's character. Managing these stocks requires the expertise of a master blender who uses their sensory skills to assess thousands of individual casks and predict their trajectory. They combine different barrels to achieve a consistent flavor profile, ensuring each batch meets the distillery's house style before it is diluted to bottling strength. Every cask chosen for a release represents a specific window of time that ends its aging journey the moment it is emptied. Only after this multi-step process is complete and the whiskey is ready for bottling does the finished liquid finally hit the glass. That single glass is the culmination of a week-long distillery cycle and years of maturation, a liquid record of the specific grain, copper stills, and oak casks used in its creation.